Please welcome to the stage Lieutenant Colonel Daniel Gomez.
Ladies and gentlemen, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but the themed entertainment industry has a problem. It's a problem that's been going on for over 40 years now, but very few of us have took the courage to address that problem. Today, I'm going to take that leap of faith, and I'm going to address that problem because it affects us all. Today, I'm here to tell you that stormtroopers suck. I mean, when was the last time you saw one of them hit something? Sure, they're photogenic, but how fast can they run in the water? They look cool and stuff, but do they get the job done? Look at this guy. He's having an existential crisis in the middle of a firefight. In an hour and a half, he's going to blow up all of his friends on Starkiller Base. And Captain Phasma, don't even get me started with her. They throw her down a trash compactor 2 hours into the movie. And it's not a problem with, it's only a problem with the Empire. The rebels don't have this problem. They got this homeless guy off the street to beat the crap out of all these stormtroopers with a stick. But I think I know the problem. You see, the Empire was so used to droids, they forgot that stormtroopers are actually people. And people are weird and quirky, but they're also amazing and beautiful. They're capable of doing amazing things. But if you don't believe in them, if you don't give them the training that they need to succeed, they will always fail. And how do I know this? Because I was a stormtrooper too. My name's Daniel Gomez. And I'm an experienced designer as well. However, you and I took very different paths to get into this auditorium today. You see, first, I was a soldier, then I was a commander, and then I was instructor. It was a great honor to have that opportunity. My job was to lead an elite special operations team, of a very small team of 24 people, on counterterrorism operations and humanitarian assistance operations around the world. My team spoke 14 different languages. We operated in 7 different countries. And to do the job that they had to do, to dealing with foreign militaries and foreign non-governmental organizations, they needed a certain set of skills. They needed to be trained in cultural awareness. They needed to be trained in adaptability. They needed to be trained to talk to people. So today, I have the luxury of talking to you about my experience in the military and my experience as an experienced designer. I'm going to be talking about storytelling, architecture, technology, and how we use those things to create an experience. But what I'm really going to be talking about is people, or as I pronounce it, SATE. The first thing that guides us in special operations is we have these things called special operations truths. And the first truth that we have is humans are more important than hardware. The United States military spends millions of dollars assessing, selecting, and training its individuals for special operations. Individuals like Staff Sergeant Bista. She's your average 20-year-old. She was born in Nepal, speaks 5 languages, runs a 7-minute mile. And here, she's leading, she's engaging with the search and rescue team from the United Kingdom during the largest earthquake that ever hit Nepal. I'm talking about Captain Cho. She's in the middle with that black sweater next to Sergeant Bista. She's also your average 20-year-old. West Point graduate, she speaks 4 languages and runs a 7-minute mile. Here she is participating in an event held by the US Embassy to empower local women during their own suffrage movement. Now, these are extraordinarily talented individuals, and they're physically fit. But what makes them special? What makes them special is that they dare to take risk. When I look out in this auditorium, I see a bunch of risk takers, people who dare to dream. Your guys' job is to make beautiful things every day. that people have never seen before. It's that ability to take risks is what makes us really special. People like Steve Claiborne. Now, Steve contacted me after he saw my company's information on the TEA website. It turns out that we were both in New York, so he gives me a call. Turns out that he lives down the block from me. And he said, how can I help you? Is there anything you're working on? I said, as a matter of fact, there is. And fast forward 3 months, Steve created all the audio, visual, and special effects for my immersive attraction. Now, Steve was an amazing individual. Every time I asked him to do something, he would just take the problem head on. But unfortunately, just like Elsa, I had to let him go. Now, he had to go do an internship with some company somewhere, and they liked him so much that they hired him. I don't know what he's doing today, but I really wish him well. Now, when I talk about people being the center of your attractions and believing in them, people are going to be the first interaction with your guests, who are also people. Take this picture right here. This is the beautiful Snow White, and she's dealing with a young boy named Brody. Brody has autism and was having a really hard time standing in line waiting for her picture. Snow White saw this and took him on a little walk until he was able to calm down. Snow White was a person, and she was interacting with a guest the best way she knew how. You, as experience designers, need to think about your teammates. Think about the experiences that you're designing and say, how am I going to make the interaction between guests and my people special? Because I guarantee you, after seeing this picture, nobody was talking about Smuggler's Run. That's not a ding on Disney. I love them. Okay, sorry about that. And why is that? Is because people are more important than hardware. We have to believe in them. The next truth that we have in special operations is that quality is better than quantity. In special operations, we send small teams of 1 to 4 people to countries by themselves. And myself, I worked in Sri Lanka, and my team sergeant worked in the Maldives, right? So we had one person for a vast area. Because we're highly trained individuals, it's much better than sending a group of 20. So I have a question for everybody. How much of your job consists of dealing with change? Whether it's an indoor event, outdoor event, your mic doesn't work, or my favorite, the client decided to go in a different direction, right? Most of us here have to deal with change on a daily basis. Second question is, how many of us have had training on how to deal with change? That's what we do in special operations. We teach our soldiers to deal with change. Soldiers like Captain Jason Guffey. He's right there in the middle. This is a picture of him conducting a humanitarian assistance mission in Papua New Guinea, working with the local military and a local mayor. And one night, Captain Guffey called me on a satellite phone. I could hear gunfire in the background. It turns out that him and his team was isolated from the other American personnel. Their vehicle was hit by an explosive device, and one of their team sergeants was injured. They were defending themselves against the insurgents attacking the compound, but their ammunition was running low, and they were running low on options. Now, like many of you in this room, you're very concerned right now, and I was very concerned too. Well, actually, not really, because it was a training exercise. Right? You see, using storytelling, architecture, and technology, we created an immersive training experience using role players, installations on base, and tracking systems to put them in a training exercise that will mimic real life. They weren't actually in Papua New Guinea. They were gone good old Fort Bragg, North Carolina. Because when everything is on the line, how many chances do you have? Let's ask our resident expert, Dr. Strange. 1. All right? So in the military, we train 99 to 1. 99% is what we're going to do every day. Talking, driving, writing reports. But we have that 1%, life-saving skills, emergency action drills, evac plans. We have to train on those skills as well. And if we just go out and do it, when we only have that one chance, we might fail. We do this to stress them. We do this to test them. Who's my roller coaster guys out there? All right, how many times do you stress test your models? How many times do you stress test your harnesses? When was the last time you stress test your people? We upgrade our technology. We have magic bands, magic leaps, magic wands. When was the last time we upgraded our people? When was the last time we taught them how to interact with people better? We need to train them, not only just believe in them, we need to train them and make them better. And how do we do that? In the military, we use the experiential learning model. It's a process where people learn things by doing. Surprise, right? And key to that is experience. So I think of experience as two different things, the verb and the noun. So bear with me on this. I have experienced the journey, right? This was that training exercise that we did. We told them, hey, you're going to Papua New Guinea, you're going to interact with the ambassador, you're going to interact with all these people and everything like that. And that whole process, the bottom line is when you enter that process to when you come out, you're going to have transformed, right? That's experience the journey. Experience the tool is the things you learn along the way. If you guys have ever played Legend of Zelda, it's a video game, you guys know it well. There comes a point in the game where you're just stop. You can't go any further because you need a certain item. You get that item, and now you can use that item to progress in the level, right? And every time you get to a new instance, you either got to get a new item or go through your pockets. Do I use the boomerang? Do I use the bow and arrow or whatnot? But every time you experience something, you learn something, and you put that tool in your toolkit, right? So just like Legend of Zelda, these soldiers were learning. They learned that, hey, I need to create a plan. I need to have a backup procedures for my radio. What do I do if someone gets sick? These are all tools that they put in their toolkit. But that's not all. After that transformative journey happens, that's when the real magic happens. That's when you have to ask some questions. What was supposed to happen? What actually happened? And why? And that starts that reflection piece where they think about it and say, what could have done? What could I have done differently? That gives you the 14,350,116 courses of actions that could have taken place. The first thing that a Disney Imagineer said when I put them through the same training I gave special operations is, that was awesome, right? And the second thing they said was, can I do it again? And the reason why is because they wanted to try again. They did a thing, they learned from that thing, and they're like, I gotta try this again to do it. And you can use the same techniques in your experiences for your people or for your guests. So let's go back to Captain Guffey. That's him right there. This time he was really deployed missing a little bubble there, but he was deployed in Bangladesh, right? So he was in the Sundarban region in Bangladesh. His team was isolated from the other personnel on the team. They were conducting a counter-poaching mission because it turns out people who traffic in tiger parts also traffic in people. So he was doing that. And there was political riots in the country and preventing them from moving around freely. So they were isolated. Their team sergeant was sick because sometimes you just get sick on deployment. They had no weapons because we didn't have weapons for that mission. It's a permissive environment, so we don't have weapons. And they had limited options. So he's talking to me on the phone, telling me all this stuff. And I'm like, oh my God, it's go time. What can I do for you? And he said, nothing, sir, we got this. Because they were trained and ready. They had plans in place that they could implement to get themselves out of that situation. They were armed with the tools that they experienced on their experiential journey through training and were able to enact those tools in their real life mission. Because quantity is better than quality. Now, I had the very awesome, unique opportunity to create my own immersive experience for the entertainment industry. Fresh out of being a soldier on active duty, I went to New York City and said, I want to do the thing, right? I want to dream and do it. And I created an immersive event. I designed it using the same methodologies I use in special operations, that experiential learning model, where when guests can come in, do the thing, learn from it, and come back and do it all over again, except this time for fun and not for real life and death. and I'd love to share that with you.
Ready, an immersive experience, was the premiere production of first-person Xperience. It was a live-action psychological thriller that placed guests into a 75-minute adrenaline-filled survival adventure. Ready was a blend of 5 different mediums of entertainment. We took the intimacy of immersive theatre, the immersion of theme parks, the competitiveness of live-action games, the interaction of live-action role-playing, and the agency of video games to create a new medium we called immersive gaming. Ready was a survival game where scores were based on the player's ability to gather information and make decisions. The players would spend the next hour in an abandoned mini-mall trying to figure out how to survive. Under the effects of adrenaline spurred by fear and isolation, most players would search their rooms for supplies such as food and water. The best ones found clues and survival items. The lost ones found only darkness and despair. After a few minutes, players would venture out into the abandoned mini-mall, searching for one another. Here, they would encounter characters from our story, searching for answers themselves. Some players would accept them with open arms, sharing information and items, while those less trusting kept them at a distance. Character interaction was essential in helping players put the entire story together. With the threat of danger imminent and news of them all being hopelessly surrounded, players would have the opportunity to arrange a rescue from outside forces via radio. Meanwhile, other players would discover strange items as they attempted to find out what was really going on. In the end, players would find out that one of their own was infected, and they would have to decide if they can attempt to save them or leave them to die. Finally, in the climax of explosions and gunfire, the players and characters would escape the facility into the unknown ending in the game.
Bass. So yeah, I know it's like intense, right? But it was a really fun ride, and it was a great experience. The number one thing that everyone talked about when they left Ready was the people. We trained our actors in 80 hours of customer service, human psychology, human elicitation skills, and adaptability to interact with those people in real time so that whenever they made a decision, that affected the story. Because in Ready, your decisions mattered. So that interaction created this beautiful experience that people came to again and again. Over whether they came back 1, 2, 3, or 4 times, 80 of our guests came back the same exact day. They did the show, which is 75 minutes, came out of the show, gave me money, went back into the show. Right? Now, you could do that with roller coasters, but a 75-minute experience is a whole different animal. So, but it was because that those guests, they loved the story, they loved the setting, they loved the technology, the app that we tracked them through that let them, that followed their decisions as they were making them. But most importantly, they loved our people. So I want to leave you guys with this. Make sure you understand that your people are more important than your hardware. You have to believe in them because they are special. You have to make sure that everything they do counts and put them into contact with the audience. Let them take risks. Because your quality is better than your quantity. So my name is Daniel Gomez. Thank you for letting me be your stormtrooper for today.